When you try to understand how everything works, the universe stands still. It does not move in the direction of thought, but in the direction of the emotion you emit. You may have read dozens of books, listened to hundreds of lectures, and made thousands of plans in your mind. Yet, if your body still vibrates at the frequency of not yet, the quantum field hears only one signal: waiting, and therefore, it responds with delay. In quantum mechanics, information does not travel through words, but through energy. Thought is data, and emotion is the carrier wave. When you only think, the data has no medium of transmission. But when you feel, that data is launched as a directed signal with density, biological weight, and intention. You are communicating with the field not through willpower, but through heartbeat, through the vibration of your cells, through the way your nervous system signals it has arrived. The more you try to believe, the more you confirm that belief is still absent, because believing is a state of reaching toward, while feeling real is a state of already being in. The field does not measure the strength of will, it measures the stability of vibration. When your inner world wavers, the frequency distorts, and the field cannot tell what you want. It only mirrors what you are, like a cosmic receiver. Your body is the antenna. Each cell is a microcircuit. Each emotion, a packet of biological data sent into space. When you feel complete, the body becomes an open field. When you feel lacking, you emit a closed signal, and the universe does not judge, it only resonates. This may sound metaphysical, but it is pure logic. Thought triggers a weak electrical current in the brain, while emotion generates a powerful electromagnetic oscillation in the heart. Your heart emits energy 5,000 times stronger than the brain, and this field expands meters beyond the body. When emotion aligns with thought, the frequency becomes coherent, and energy begins to organize matter accordingly. Every reality you call real is the result of this resonance. So when you try to understand, instead of feel, you remain at the level of information, not energy, and only energy collapses information into form. There is a tiny moment between knowing and feeling. In that stillness, all reality shifts. When you feel as though it already exists, the field receives the signal complete and reorganizes the structure of probability to reflect the image. It is not magic, but the physics of faith. At the deepest level, energy does not understand not yet or soon. It only understands frequency, and frequency never lies. Stop, close your eyes, and try not to think at all. Just sense the waves moving across your skin, the air shifting with your breath, the heartbeat writing music in your chest. In that instant, you are speaking to the universe in its most primal language, feeling. When you feel it has happened, you no longer demand proof from the world. You become the proof. You no longer search for the right vibration, because you are that vibration. And that is when reality, like a faithful quantum mirror, bows to reflect who you are becoming. There is a subtle gap between what you think and what you feel. It is invisible, yet it distorts your entire energetic system. When the mind says, "I believe I will overcome," but the heart still beats with anxiety, you are sending two signals out of phase. The quantum field does not hear the affirmation, it hears the stability of your vibration. A bright thought cannot pierce a closed heart, and when the heart closes, the wave loses direction. The signal dissolves into the noise of existence. Coherence is when these two centers strike the same rhythm. The brain acts as the processor, the heart is the transmitter. When the two electromagnetic systems synchronize, the body becomes a perfect antenna. The waves no longer break but flow continuously through space. Then energy no longer strives to reach it, radiates naturally, like light that does not need to find its path to shine. You no longer want to believe. You are within the frequency of belief. The paradox is that the more you try to control the mind, the more the heart closes, because control is the energy of fear, while harmony is the energy of allowance. Coherence is not achieved by effort, but by listening. When you stop arguing between should and want, between logic and intuition, the brain softens, the heartbeat slows, and the two systems begin to match phase. In that moment, the body becomes one frequency, where thought no longer fights emotion, and emotion no longer dominates thought. Science has measured that when heart and brain synchronize, your electromagnetic field expands, becomes ordered, and extends farther. The chaotic waves begin to align, like iron filings, lining before a magnetic field. This is not metaphor but physics. Your body becomes a resonant system where every cell understands the same message. When you are in coherence, no energy is wasted on inner conflict. All biological resources transform into luminous signals, and the quantum field responds instantly to that frequency. Observe within yourself where reason denies what the heart already knows. Every time you say "I'm fine" while your chest tightens, you step out of coherence. Every time you force positivity, but still doubt, you create reverse current, and that current is what interrupts the clarity of your energy. When the head and the heart conflict, reality mirrors conflict. When they unite, reality becomes simple, clear, coherent like water, so transparent you no longer see the line between the observer and the observed. Harmony is not forced agreement, but the end of resistance. When you stop choosing sides between reason and feeling, you open the third state, silent intelligence. In it, every thought arises with a heartbeat beside it, and every emotion rises with the light of understanding. In that state, energy needs no control, for it has returned to its natural order. Sit still, place your hand on your chest, and listen to your heart. No analysis, no judgment. Let the mind and the heart breathe as one. As the breath deepens, the brain begins to receive the signal from the heart, the pure rhythm of life. From that point, every action you take, every thought you think, is born from a unified field, and in coherence. There is no distance between the dreamer and the dream, only one presence, awake, luminous, and serene. Have you ever realized that intention, no matter how noble, is only an empty frame if it is not filled with emotion? You can say, "I want to change. I will be better. I believe in myself." But if your body does not vibrate with those words, they are only sounds floating in the air. The quantum field does not read words, it reads frequency. And frequency comes from emotion, not thought. Emotion is the real substance, the atom of the soul, the living energy that shapes all reality. Intention only draws the blueprint, but emotion is the hand that molds invisible matter into tangible experience. A bright but cold thought is a current without voltage, while a true feeling, even small, spreads like infrasound, unheard, yet shaking the air itself. When you say, "I am grateful," the universe does not hear the words. It hears the warm vibration expanding from your chest. Most people mistake thinking positively for being aligned, but positivity is not light. It is a wave band. If you still carry doubt, fear, or a lack of safety within, every affirmation becomes out of phase. The field reflects dominant vibration, not weak desire. When you feel you do not have, you transmit lack. When you feel it already belongs to you, even unseen, you transmit completion. In this sense, emotion is the quantum equation already solved. So do not try to think more, start feeling more. Feel the light of a dawn you have never seen. Feel the weightless gratitude without reason. Feel the freedom of a future already arrived in this breath. When you allow yourself to touch that emotion, you are not imagining, you are activating a new timeline. In the world of energy, emotion is the true measurement. And perhaps right now, as you hear these words, you feel a small motion within, soft, like ripples in water. That is energy beginning to synchronize. Pause and sense it. You do not need to understand, only to be present. Emotion is the doorway to the deepest layer of awareness, where you and the universe are no longer two. I want to ask you something. As you listen to this, where are you on your journey? Are you in a quiet room or among moving streets? Is it morning or late at night? Leave a comment sharing where and when you are watching this video. I want to know where your journey begins. It is not just a question, it is connection. Because every time you write, A part of your energy becomes a wave of response. I can read it. I can feel it. And for a creator like me, your presence is the most precious gift. I am truly grateful for it. Remember, you do not need your emotions to be perfect, only genuine, not performing someone else's feelings, but listening to the subtle movement within you. The deeper you feel, the closer you come to the still layer of existence, where every desire is already fulfilled, where every beginning has already been recorded in the field. There, you are no longer the one trying to believe, but the one already living what was once only words. Emotion is not the final reaction to experience. It is the first command sent into the universe's energetic fabric. Each time you feel something, you are reprogramming probability. Energy does not understand rational language. It listens only to frequency. When you feel fear, you issue a command. Give me reasons to fear. When you feel gratitude, you also issue a command. Give me more to be grateful for. Emotion is the interface between consciousness and matter, between wave and particle. It is the code the universe reads instantly. We once thought emotion was an outcome, that we react to circumstances, but in truth, circumstances react to our emotions. Every sorrow, joy, impulse is data transmitted as electromagnetic waves. The quantum field receives this signal, interprets it as instruction, and rearranges matter, people, and events to match the broadcasted frequency. The universe has no memory, only reflex. It does not distinguish past, present, or future. It only knows what you feel now, and that becomes the blueprint for the next moment. When you understand this mechanism, you see why controlling the external world is futile. Because you are not the receiver, you are the transmitter. Each time you say, I don't want pain anymore, the feeling behind the words is still pain. The field does not hear, don't want, it hears pain. Energy does not comprehend negation. It amplifies what vibrates most. Thus, fighting fear does not free you from it. Only a higher vibration dissolves it. Imagine you are a biological transmitter. Every cell, an antenna. Emotion is the tuner. When you broadcast at low amplitude, you only receive channels of fear, lack, and limitation. When you raise your frequency, new channels appear: peace, clarity, abundance. You need not seek light, just change the channel. Emotion is the dial of reality, and what you choose to feel is, at the core, what world you choose to live in. This is not abstract philosophy. Neuroscience shows that each emotion creates a unique electrochemical pattern. Anger activates stress hormones, narrowing your energy field, letting you see only threats. Gratitude, meanwhile, expands blood vessels, synchronizes heart and brain, and orders your electromagnetic field. Then you do not just see life differently, the field around you reorganizes to match. This is the universe's feedback to the command you issued. Emotion, therefore, is not something you have, but something you do. You stop asking, why do I feel this way? And start asking, what signal am I sending out? And when that question is asked in stillness, you realize true power lies in emotional choice. Every moment, you are training the quantum field how to treat you. Remember, you cannot deceive energy with words. It does not care what you say, only what you are in this moment. If you vibrate in fear, the world answers with reasons to fear. If you vibrate in peace, the world softens instantly. The universe is a borderless mirror, no distortion, no addition, no subtraction. It only reflects the emotional command you send. And when you begin to feel from the deepest place, not to react, but to create, everything around you begins to feel you in return. A thought, by itself, is only a faint signal drifting across the sky of the mind. It has no weight, no direction, no thrust. Like an unobserved photon, it exists in a state of potential. Only when charged with emotion does a thought become a wave with amplitude, frequency, and power to influence the field. Emotion is the operational energy of thought. If thought is form, emotion is the current that lights that form. without emotion. All thinking is floating, data untouched, uncreated. Every time you think, a small electrical impulse arises in the brain, but when emotion joins it, that signal becomes thousands of times stronger. The heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times greater than the brain. When thought merges with feeling, brain and heart synchronize, and the emitted energy becomes strong enough to shape probability. Thought has meaning only when it is felt, and emotion gains creative force only when directed by clear intention. The union of these two streams of energy is the language the universe understands. We tend to believe that positive thinking is the key, but positivity does not shift energy if it stays in the intellect. An affirmation you do not feel true is an empty signal. The quantum field does not respond to beautiful words, but to vibrational intensity. When you say, "I believe I'll be fine," while your body still trembles, the energy you truly emit is fear. The universe receives that command and mirrors it back. No falsehood can exist in frequency. Emotion is the biological proof of belief. If the body does not believe, nothing has been sent. Observe moments when you are deeply moved, when you love, when you are grateful, when you feel free. Thought in those instants becomes clear, simple, and so powerful it needs no words. A single image passes through, and the whole body resonates. That is when the thought has been electrified. Creation always begins there, where mind no longer separates from emotion, where intellect and instinct meet. Every miracle arises from this synchronization. When you look at someone afraid, you see their thoughts loop in a narrow circuit. When you look at someone in love, their thinking expands and flows naturally. A thought cannot rise above the emotion that created it. If you want to think differently, you must feel differently. This sounds simple, but it is the foundation of all transformation. Instead of trying to change thought, change the energy beneath it. When emotion changes, the structure of thought reconfigures itself. Just as when current increases, the bulb glows. It never needs convincing to shine. In stillness, try feeling before thinking. Breathe deeply and ask, if what I desire were already real, how would I feel? Do not answer with words, but with sensation. Let that feeling flood you, and from it, allow the thought to emerge naturally. When you do this, you charge the thought before broadcasting it, and that is when energy begins to organize matter around you into a new frequency. A thought without emotion is wind lost in space. An emotion without thought is a wave without shape. When the two unite, they become the creative language, the language the universe uses to write everything unfolding. Each time you clearly feel what you think, reality receives the command, and in that moment, you are no longer a dreamer. You are the one commanding energy to shape the world. Belief does not reside in the mind. It lives in biology. Every time you truly believe, not only the brain, but the entire body reorganizes. Belief is not a repeated thought, but an energy field in phase between heart and brain, a phenomenon measurable, tangible, observable in every cell. When you believe, neural impulses cease their chaos. Your heartbeat deepens, and your electromagnetic field expands as a fine halo around the body. In that moment, the whole biological system becomes an instrument tuned precisely to the pulse of the universe. The brain sends signals, but the heart conducts. Many studies show the heart's electrical signal is 5,000 times stronger than the brain's, and its magnetic field extends meters beyond the body. When these two centers align, the energy emitted becomes coherent, ordered, and able to influence surrounding matter. You do not just feel different, you become a different transmitter. In coherence, every cell in you understands the same message. Every organ operates as part of a unified orchestra, and the body becomes an instrument of transmission for belief. In ordinary states, the heart and brain often play different rhythms. The mind calculates, while the heart waits to be heard. When the mind fears, the heartbeat races, neural circuit tangle, and energy scatters. But when you pause, breathe deeply, and let both rhythms merge, another phenomenon occurs. Brain waves slow into alpha. The heart emits a steady field, and energy in your body begins to spiral in balanced geometry, the sacred pattern of faith. True belief needs no effort. It is not forcing yourself to believe, but the natural result of harmony between body and awareness. You no longer try to believe, because every cell already knows. Stress hormones drop, oxytocin and dopamine rise, the immune system activates, and the brain opens creative zones. Physics calls this biological coherence. Spirituality calls it union. Human experience calls it peace. If you wish to change reality, do not start by convincing the mind. Start by calming the heartbeat. Emotion is the switch, breath the bridge. When you inhale deeply and lengthen the exhale, your heart sends safety signals to the brain, and the nervous system shifts from reaction to creation. That is the moment you move from survival to presence. Within that space, new beliefs can be recorded into the body as a frequency update. The universe does not need you to think more, it needs you to vibrate more accurately. When heart and brain synchronize, energy becomes clear, information unwarped. You become a coherent channel between invisible and visible. What you desire is no longer a wish, but data ready to display. Belief, at the biological level, is no longer a concept. It is a mechanism. And then you realize you are not believing in the universe. You are becoming its heartbeat. When heart and brain share one frequency, when emotion and thought sing the same song, energy no longer emits and responds. It merges into a single point, where sender and receiver are one. There, belief is no longer an act. It is the natural state of existence. The quantum field does not reflect the goals you set. It reflects the emotional state you live in every day. It does not care who you want to become. It observes who you are when you are not trying. What you feel in your quietest moments, when no one is watching, is the true signal you send into the energetic fabric of the universe. That is the baseline, the deepest emotional layer from which all thoughts, actions, and results emerge. Goals are the light painted on the wall of consciousness. The emotional baseline is the current that illuminates it. You can draw as many shapes as you wish, but if the current is weak, the image stays dim. Someone who speaks of freedom but feels trapped, who speaks of abundance but lives in fear, is broadcasting mixed signals. The field does not read words, it reads vibration. If your baseline emotion is "I am not enough," the universe can only send more proof that you are not enough. When your inner frequency vibrates with lack, the outer world must respond with lack. That is the law of resonance. The emotional baseline is not a passing feeling. It is the state you return to after every wave. Like the background tone of a song, it is always present, even as melodies change. You may feel joy, sadness, excitement, or disappointment, but when the storm fades, where you return, that is your baseline. For one who lives in anxiety, every joy is fragile. For one who lives in trust, every fear is temporary. The field does not react to the peaks of emotion, but to the stability of your underlying frequency. This is why so many who practice positivity see no change. They think the universe hears them during moments of affirmation, but it truly listens in the moments they forget to affirm. It is in unconscious stillness that your signal is clearest. When you stop performing, stop trying to believe, your true state is broadcast, and that is the command that shapes reality. What matters is not how you feel for a minute of meditation, but how you feel in the rest of your day. You cannot deceive the field. It mirrors your entire vibration. If you constantly fear, it does not punish but responds faithfully, creating more reasons to fear. If you constantly feel gratitude, it opens more reasons to be grateful. There is no reward or punishment, only reflection. The emotional baseline is the seed, and the world is a neutral garden responding to the seed you plant. Instead of setting bigger goals, refine the emotional baseline. Do not force optimism, just be genuine. When you dare to acknowledge your current frequency, energy begins to shift. Observe where you return after a long day. That is the frequency map of your soul. Once you see it, you can choose again. Choose emotion, not through effort, but awareness. Each time you return to fullness, safety, and trust, you reposition the field. From there, goals no longer need pursuit. They glide toward you. The quantum field never makes mistakes. It faithfully mirrors the being in operation. When you change your baseline emotion, you change the entire reflection. Reality does not come later. It is simply another face of the same frequency. When you grasp this, you stop asking how to achieve and start asking, where am I vibrating? Because in the end, you are not given what you want. You are given the emotion you faithfully live with. The true prison is not outside, but within your nervous system. Each emotional memory is an energy mold reinforced over time, and the body, loyal to the core, replays it endlessly, like an old song. You do not live in the present. You live in sensations recorded from the past. A wound, a failure, an unhealed word, each leaves electrochemical imprints in your cells. The brain calls it experience, but the quantum field calls it vibrational code. Until that code is rewritten, you keep transmitting the same signal, no matter how different the scenery appears. The body remembers longer than the mind. You may say, I've forgiven, yet if your chest tightens at the sound of that name, the memory remains. The brain processes meaning, but the body stores frequency. Each time you recall the past, your nervous system reproduces the same reactions: hormones, heartbeat, breath, muscle tension, brainwaves, all identical to the first time. You think you are remembering, but you are recreating, and the universe, responding only to frequency, keeps sending situations that match it. You are not trapped by fate, but by untransformed memory. This prison is subtle because it makes you believe you are free. You can move, change jobs, or partners. But if the baseline emotion remains the same, so does the pattern. The same pain in different forms. The same reaction under new masks. It is not karma but biological habit of energy. The nervous system returns to what is familiar, even when it hurts. Because in pain, it finds safety. The past becomes comfort, and the soul is trapped in its own signal. Liberation comes not from forgetting, but from seeing memory as frequency, not story. Each time you observe emotion without reacting, you disconnect current from its old circuit. The silence of awareness dissolves frozen energy. When you stop labeling emotions as good or bad, they revert to waveform, no longer imprisoning you in shape. You need not fight memory, only stop replaying it. Each time you breathe deeply into fear without running, you rewrite your biological code. A truth few face. Most of I is just the emotional map of the past. Every belief, reflex, even preference, formed from what once felt safe. Awakening is not becoming someone new, but realizing you never were those memories. When you see this, memory stops being a prison and becomes data, and data can be reprogrammed. In deep enough stillness, you can feel layers of memory separating from the body, like mist dissolving in light. Not forgetting, but merging. Not overcoming, but absorbing it into understanding. Then the energy once locked in the past is released, returning to the flow of life. You feel lighter not because anything vanished, but because you no longer carry it. The prison never locked you. You held the key. The door opens the moment you stop telling the same story with the same emotion. When the body stops replaying the past, present energy turns transparent. From there, every old memory becomes material for new light, and you are no longer a prisoner of time, but the architect of reality, built from the stillness of awakening. There is a boundary as thin as smoke between imagination and reality, and the true ritual of the awakened is to train the body until it no longer knows the difference. You do not wait for the world to change so you can feel different. You must feel different so the world can change. The body is the bridge between consciousness and the energy field. It records every signal you emit, every state you believe to be real, and only when the body is taught to feel the future as if it has already happened does the timeline begin to bend toward you. This ritual is not a mystical act. It is the subtle mechanics of biology and energy. when you imagine yourself living in the reality you desire. You send data to the brain, but when you feel it, truly feel it, through your skin, your heartbeat, then your breath, you send a command to the body. The brain processes images, but the body processes frequency. When these two layers merge, the nervous system no longer distinguishes between what is real, memory, or future. It only knows one thing. This signal has already happened. Picture yourself sitting in silence, inhaling slowly. In that breath, choose the reality. Your soul longs for most a moment of freedom, peace, or abundance. Do not think of the image. Move directly into the feeling. If freedom could be touched, how would it feel? If peace could be inhaled, what would its flavor be? Let that feeling flow into every cell, as though each organ is being reprogrammed to live in a new version of reality. When emotion arises, do not hold it. Let it expand softly, slowly, like light spreading through water. You may feel warmth, trembling, even tears. Do not label any of it, for that is the moment the body begins to believe. Each time you allow yourself to feel deeper, you send a stronger signal into the field, and when the signal becomes clear enough, reality begins to rearrange itself. The body is the instrument of quantum programming. Every heartbeat, every electromagnetic pulse is a vibrational code being transmitted. You cannot pretend to believe with the mind, but you can teach the body to believe through emotion. Repeat this ritual daily. Sit still. Place your hand on your chest and feel the future as real. No affirmations, no effort, just feeling. Each time you feel, you reopen a neural pathway, gradually replacing the network of the past with the circuitry of the future. That is how new memory is written into the body, not by willpower, but by frequency. Transformation does not come from action, but from the stability of state. Once the body believes, outer energy cannot help but respond. The universe does not understand promises, it understands signals. And the strongest signal is the one broadcast by your entire biology, by the heart, the breath, the light in every cell. When you practice long enough, the emotion of the future becomes the emotion of the present. The body stops waiting, it begins living. And when the body lives in the future is no longer distant. This is not magic, but the precision of consciousness mechanics. You do not imagine to escape the present. You feel to reformat it. In the instant you feel your desire as already real, you are no longer the one hoping, you are the one commanding energy. And energy, as loyal as light, immediately mirrors the image of you, the one who has stepped into the future by feeling it now. All transformation truly begins when the energy within you stops fluctuating. It is not the intensity of emotion, but the stability of frequency that marks a reality fully formed. Unstable frequency is like a wave that cannot find its phase, reaching light, then retreating into shadow, believing, then doubting. Each time you doubt, the field must reorganize from the beginning. Like a song constantly interrupted, the creation of the universe does not demand great effort, only consistency and silence. Stability is not rigidity, it is rhythm. When you keep the rhythm of your state, no matter how the world shifts, you remain the bass note around which all melodies revolve. People think new reality comes from changing action, but it comes when your frequency stays steady through all conditions. When emotion, thought, and energy move in one direction, you become the central wave, and the central wave synchronizes the field. The universe does not need to give you anything. It automatically harmonizes with the signal you sustain. Some touch high states and lose them. Believing faith must feel intense, but pure energy is never loud. It flows quietly, evenly, deeply, enduring like the heartbeat of the cosmos. When frequency stabilizes, you no longer rise with arrivals or fall with departures. You enter the changeless zone, where reality ceases to be pursued and becomes the natural flow around your presence. In that state, action becomes simple, words precise, and each step carries the silent gravity of biological faith. Frequency stability is the summit of energetic mastery. When you stop seeking the feeling and become the feeling itself. You do not try to believe, because your body already knows belief. You do not force love, because loving energy has become your biological foundation. Stability of frequency is not achieved through technique, but through absolute loyalty to the emotion you choose to live with. Each time you hold that state through change, you strengthen the field. Each time you do, reality reorganizes into a clearer, more defined reflection of your true essence. I believe we do not need to become a higher version of ourselves, only to stop falling out of our true frequency. No one needs to find the light, only to stop oscillating between light and dark. Each day, hold even a moment of stillness, a few breaths, one complete feeling, to teach the body that this is home, this is safety. When the body remembers, it will replay this rhythm even when the mind forgets, and that is when frequency becomes instinct. So if you are hearing these words, take this as an invitation. Do not seek a new reality. Become the frequency from which that reality is born. Each time you hold the rhythm of gratitude, peace, and trust, you are commanding the universe to restructure itself around you. Do not chase the waves. Become the center of the wave. Do not prove anything. Simply stay present long enough for energy to stabilize. Then the world is no longer your reflection. It becomes the extension of your heartbeat, shining quietly through stillness.